David, can I ask Liam one question?
All right.
A very simple question to which there is a simple answer. Name me one NATO leader of one of our partners in NATO who agrees that Brexit is a good idea for our common security. Just one.
And many of them agree that democracy. And I'll tell you what, many of them are in the European Union because we give them free British money. Of course they're going to want us to stay. I want us to stay as well.
So the answer is you can't name one of our friends who agrees with you. That's the answer.
That's not the answer. We've got to move on. Do you want to have a last word, madam?
Yeah,
no, madam. You.
I just wanted to say, I don't remember a time that we weren't part of the common market. And I do want more information. Yes, facts and figures can be interpreted in different ways. But I want to know what's going to happen. And I don't know what's going to happen if we come out. And I am on the fence. I know which side I would prefer. But I'm still really torn. And I'm just getting more and more bombarded with information. And facts and figures are bombarded. Yes, we're better off financially. No, we won't be better off financially. What's going to happen to us?
Does the kind of discussion we've had here over the last half hour, this is a dangerous question to ask, does it help you? Does it help you make up your mind, or does it make it worse?
Unfortunately, it doesn't. I mean, getting facts and figures, unfortunately, the gentleman in front of me is probably very clever and his economics and his maths are probably very, very good, but he said he wrote it at the back of an envelope. We just don't know what's going to happen to this country. Yeah. And that's what concerns me.
So how would you... So this is interesting. So how will you make up your mind if you've got this balance and you're bombarded with all this?
I'm concerned about immigration. I'm concerned about people in the country, but I also want this country to grow. I want money, I want investment, I want jobs for the people in this area. But I'm also aware I live in a country in an area where farmers need support. We do get money from the EU, but also...
It's our money.
I know it's our money, and I know we pay a lot in taxes, and I know we have laws, but I'm very torn,
The best thing to do is surely to look at Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United States, Singapore, countries which are independent democracies.
Yeah, but they're very different to us. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
they're just very
just the
different
last thing. When are you going to make up your mind? As you go into the polling booth?
I'm about a 60-40. My husband is very, very opposite, and we do debate things, and we're very different. But I am very torn.
Is that your husband sitting next to you?
No. He's
very nice, though.
He's at home.
OK, thank you very much. Well, all I can say is keep watching. And we're going to be in Hull next week if you want to come there and listen to the argument there, and the Manchester the week after that. I just say that because if you want to make a note of it, there's the website address and our telephone number. But let's move on, because we'll discuss the EU week after week, I've no doubt, until the 23rd. So let's take this question from Lisa Kelman, please, who's a medical student, I think. Lisa.
What should Jeremy Hunt do to avoid an all-out strike by junior doctors?
Resign. Should we go on to the next question? Kate Hoey.
Well, I think that Jeremy Hunt is not facing up to the reality that next week there is a really serious situation going to be happening with the all-out strike that's going to take place. And I believe now that the time is for the Prime Minister. As I said earlier, he's spending an awful lot of time on the whole EU business, but actually this is an immediate crisis, and I believe that he now, the Prime Minister, should be taking control of this, that he should be insisting that Jeremy Hunt actually is... personally, I would move him and get a new Secretary of State. I think that would be a great addition to making things work, because there is no doubt about it, and I know from my own doctors and my own constituency at Thomas's, how little respect now they have for the Secretary of State for Health. And if you have that lack of respect, how can you even start to begin to negotiate? So I would say to the Prime Minister, your responsibility, get everybody around the table in Downing Street, even if we have to have tea and biscuits or whatever that they used to do, and realise that this is something that is not going to be solved by Jeremy Hunt.
OK.
One thing that doesn't make any sense to me is how the BMA can say that the new junior doctors' contracts are unsafe and they're going to put patients at risk and you know, possibly increase death rates or whatever, but then the BMA can organise a strike next week or the week after where emergency cover isn't going to be covered, if that makes sense. Yeah. I just don't... Surely that's going to be just as dangerous as the new... If the new contract is dangerous, it's going to, you know... It's sort of... can't think of the word.
Equal danger.
Yeah, yeah.
Liam Fox, you were a doctor. What do you make of it?
He still is.
Yeah, and you know, someone who, as a junior doctor in the NHS, worked many more hours than junior doctors work today. I'm glad that we got away from where we were then. I can remember when I worked in obstetrics doing what was called a 1 and 2. You had to work the day, the next day and the next night, the day, the next day, the next night. And that was ridiculous. That was absolutely dangerous. And one of the good things about the contract is the reduction in total hours doctors are allowed to work from 91 hours a week, which still is a great number of hours, down to 72.
Is that the EU Working Time Directive?
No, this is the government's new contract, and I think that, that's a positive. I have a problem with doctors actually going on strike, and the General Medical Council have said it may well lead to doctors being potentially struck off if patients were to die as a result of their actions. I think in a country, this is my personal view, it's not the government's view, but I think if we don't allow the police to strike and we don't allow the armed forces to strike, there's quite a strong argument to say we shouldn't allow doctors to strike and in return we cut them a special deal. What should the Secretary of State do? I think he needs to keep talking. 90% of this contract is already agreed. I think it is wrong for the doctors to go on strike. But there's a question here about the 7 days. What are we trying to achieve? Is it better 7 days emergency cover, or are we trying to get to a full 7-day service with elective surgery and all those services running? Because if that's what we want, it's more than just doctors. Because if you want to run a full service, you've got to have the haematologists and the radiographers and the dietitians all in at the same time.
Well, the shout was, you tell us, because you support the government on this. You tell us what you think.
I would like us to get to that full 7-day service, because I think patients don't get ill according to what day of the week it is.
But that needs more money, Liam.
But if we're going to do that, I think that's right. I think in the long term it does require more money. It requires a whole change in how we go about organising our healthcare. And I think everyone should take a deep breath now. They need to get back into those talks, and we need to recognise the one thing that seems to be left out of this, that the most important people in the health service are not the doctors, not anyone else, it's the patients, and the quality of the healthcare that the patients are getting when the patients want it and at a level of quality they deserve to get.
All right. You sir, with the moustache there. Easily identifiable, yes.
Yeah, I'd like to make
come to Lisa in a moment.
An observation.
Yeah?
David Cameron used as one of his sound bites to get elected was there'll be no top-down restructure of the NHS, and I'll cut the deficit, not the NHS. Now, they've totally gone against that, and in terms of the doctors going on strike, I served in the fire service. I've been on strike. We didn't want to do it. It was a horrible place to be, and I think they're being forced to this situation. And there is a 7-day NHS at the moment, and we've had it for many years, and it was set up... It was set up in the time of greatest austerity and has served this country well. Now, nothing is more valuable than health.
Yeah, but hold on. Let's come to the point. What do you think Jeremy Hunt should do now?
Resign.
Resign, OK.
Resign now.
Tim Martin.
I think the issue of the health service in Britain suffers mostly because it's a sacred cow. And we don't, unlike car manufacturing, many other types of things, we don't much ever compare how it works in France, how it works in New Zealand, how it works in Australia, where I think in many ways they've got superior systems. It's very, very difficult working in the NHS from the people I speak to. It is a top-down run structure, and I think it needs fundamental reform and the debate which Liam Fox has said. But if you want to have a health service, and there is really, for most people, nowhere else to go, I don't think you can go on strike, because it is Hobson's choice.
So what should Hunt do, the Secretary of State do?
I think, running my business, I would never, ever impose a new contract on our managers without their agreement first, because it's too confrontational. If you can't get them to agree it, you can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Leanne Wood.
Well, in answer to the question, he should talk to them and he should show them some respect. We've got a big problem in the NHS in terms of recruiting doctors. In In Wales, we've got fewer doctors per head of the population than any other country within the EU, and in fact there's only 3 other countries, in the UK, and there are only 3 countries in the EU that have fewer doctors per head of the population than we do. We're not having a doctors' strike in Wales or in Scotland. We take a different approach in Wales and Scotland. So what I would say to any doctors who are feeling disrespected and unloved by your government, come to Wales.
Recruiting sergeant. Let's go to Lisa Kelman, who asked the question. What do you think of what you've heard so far?
I think Hunt should apologise and say, sorry, I misled the public and caused the Hunt effect. I'm sorry that I've conflated an uncosted manifesto with punishing junior doctors. I'm sorry I lied just this week saying that 500 people have already signed this contract. No, they haven't. That's what he needs to do.
Paddy Ashdown?
Tim, I so agree with what you said at the end there. You know, that if you are going to be a leader, a manager, you really have to bring people with you. I didn't agree with you what you said earlier on. I think we've got the best health.
We need to raise our differences.
And I actually think we've got the best health service in the world. And by the way, one of the very cheapest. I don't think Australia's better. And I've spent a lot of time in Australia. My family are there. So what should happen now? Look, I think this has now become a sort of macho conflict. You can't back down on both sides. And sensible solutions are being evaded. So I think it is time, the gentleman at the back said resign, and I think that has most of our support, but I think it is time for the Prime Minister to say it is clear that Jeremy Hunt cannot resolve this problem sensibly, and therefore it probably is time for him to stand aside. On the other hand, I do say to junior doctors, you have, I think, got the public on your side. I don't say, like Tim, that you shouldn't be taking industrial action. You've got the public on your side. You're winning this. Be careful about raising the stakes. I see no reason to do that whatsoever. Maintain the pressure as it is. Keep the public on your side. If you now move up a notch on this, and there is some devastating consequence of a tragedy, you're going to find that that crucial public support, which you need to win this, is going to be lost. Okay. So my advice is, Mr. Hunt goes, and if I was a junior doctor, I'd maintain the pressure where it is. I wouldn't ratchet it up.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Ashdown, you've just stated that the NHS was brilliant, which it is, and it's the cheapest. I'm afraid that's nothing to be proud of. Britain is the 5th wealthiest country in the planet, and it does not get the funding it deserves. France, Germany, Holland have more funding and more doctors per head per capita. We are in crisis. And the doctors are saying this as well. And we don't work 7 days a week, full throttle, and that's what we've got to do to accommodate the number of people in this country now. I'm a governor at the RD&E. I kind of know what I'm talking about a bit.
And what do you think?
What do you think? Fair admonishment.
What do you think Jeremy Hunt should do?
The best value for money is what I should have said, not the cheapest.
What do you think Jeremy Hunt should do?
I'm not in the position to get... I don't think doctors are creatures that are really political, except for you, Mr. Fox, probably. And I think if they are saying something, we've got to listen. They're an intelligent bunch of people who are dedicated to their jobs.
All right.
I think we should be listening.
One more last point from the woman up there.
Liam Fox asked us to put patients first and ask them what they would want. I'm a junior doctor and I have been for 5 years, and I know from picketing and also opinion polls show that Paddy's right, the public are on our side, they understand. If we had a referendum on this tomorrow, England would vote no to imposition of this contract. Consultants would vote no, the Royal Colleges vote no, patients would vote no. The NHS belongs to all of us, not Jeremy Hunt.
Sorry, let me get a microphone to you. Just say what you were saying.
Sorry, it's absolute rubbish.
What's rubbish about what
I
you
used
said?
to work in A&E, and before you do extra hours, you opt in. Right, with any job now, you opt in. There's a scheme, you either opt in or out. They do 79 hours because they push at the weekends to get more money. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's true. It's because they want overtime and they want overtime. Nobody can force anybody to do over the 50 hours a week. They choose to physically do it. They put the patients at risk themselves. I'm sorry. It's all about money and it is wrong. Anybody who goes AWOL and doesn't turn up for a shift when they go on strike should be sacked. If you was in the military, you get arrested for going AWOL. The NHS don't want them going off work. They are technically going AWOL. They are not turning up for their shifts, making people anxious by cancelling appointment. It's their choice. I'm sorry, anybody else in any other job would be sacked for doing that.
Leanne Fox,
Shame on them.
what do you make of her point? Now, you must answer her point, if you would.